Jobs numbers are out, and of course, it is affecting the market. And how this plays out into the Fed's decision next month is going to be a big deal. Today, we're going to break all that down for you. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that is iTrust Capital. You guys are looking to get your crypto IRA in place for next year because obviously we're rolling into tax season. This is where you can start. Go over to itrustcapital.com. You can buy and sell crypto, including gold and silver over there with your IRAs. So check it out. If you have an IRA today, you can also do a transition of that IRA into iTrust. Check it out with your CPA and or your tax attorneys and make sure it's right for you, but it's a good spot to start. Use our link down below. It's going to give you a $100 funding reward when you start an account over there. So, which IRAs are really good for tax benefits in terms of benefits for you and your family. Many people don't know that, but check it out. It probably is going to match up for what you want to do. Let's get into the topic today. One, of course, was the jobs numbers. This is the issue that I've been talking about for quite some time, and that is watch this month and the months following for continued slowness in the jobs market. So the U.S. economy added 142,000 jobs in August. This was below the expectations of 164,000, so 22,000 jobs short, and it's likely to get adjusted downward, I believe, even though this right now is setting in. Unemployment rate was right at 4.2. The only reason I don't think we're going to see an unemployment rate that doesn't go down, or up, excuse me, is that this job adjustment right now, I think, is probably off. Whether we see, like most of the jobs adjustments we've seen over the last 6 months have been downward adjustments. So this could be a factor to just push in, holding the line for the Fed not being able to really go in aggressive. And of course, that's the thing that everybody's asking is what will the Fed do? You look at Polymarket right now, you've got a couple of people looking at two different things. One is the 50 basis points, and I want to show you something. The 50 basis points, when the job numbers first came out, boom, this thing spiked up to a 37% probability. That's pretty significant. People got their heads about them and said, no, there's no way that the Fed is going to drop a 50 onto the market because of the impact that really could have on Wall Street. And I'll explain that in a second, but right now, it looks like it's going to be a quarter point. I think that's what everybody's looking at, 80% right now on a quarter point being the move, which is really what everybody has been anticipating. The jobs number is not a shocking number. It is a number that continues to decline. I would be more worried if we lose a point or gain a point or two in the unemployment, which I think will be forthcoming in the fourth quarter this year. That's the problem that I think that we do face. So this is going to be a little bit of a rocky 90 days. Other things that people are talking about here was Matt Hogan kind of talking about the whole issue on the 50 basis points. The recency bias, I think, is correct. This is probably radical for the Fed. If they were to do it, the problem I would see is that it means something is broke. And I think the problem that we will see very soon is that the job market is broken. And I also think that we are in for this lagging inflationary scenario that is playing into retail sales. This holiday season could be a rough one, so we'll be watching retail sales going into the holiday season, which tells us a lot more about where the market sets. But I would agree that 50 basis points would be a huge one. I don't anticipate that coming out of the Fed. By the way, fear and greed right now is absolutely extreme at 22. And you look at the flow of fear and greed over the last little bit. Last week, 34. Extreme fear right now, and even if you go last month, we were at 29. So we've kind of been back and forth, but we haven't been this low in a while for fear and greed. And if you look at some of the charts, this has been one of the lowest fear and greed positions overall that we've been able to register. Is this the bottom? I think this is the question mark that everybody's asking. Do we see a 50K or below Bitcoin this weekend or faster? We did a video yesterday at 53K. We took a little heat on that too, but of course, Bitcoin slides into 53K today. By the way, don't forget, drop some questions in over the side. We'll try to get to some of those for you guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure and do that right now. So take a minute, subscribe to the channel, and hit the like button. It does give us some insight on what you guys like to hear. If you like the market breakdowns, if you're looking for token analysis, the CEO interviews, we do a lot of those. We will be dropping a CEO interview. I think it's going to be next couple of days, most likely that I think will surprise you. So be on the lookout for that. And another one to watch right now is this one right here, which is a video we just finished and dropped today on Avalanche. There are so many things happening within that network. You guys have to watch that video. It is a huge, huge breakthrough with where Avalanche might be going. So check it all out. Let's go back over here. I want to take a look at a couple other items. One, of course, is the market entering the extreme fear range. Obviously, analysts are warning of a Bitcoin below 50K. We've hit 50K before, and 49 actually, to be exact. And I think that's the real question mark when you look at some of the parameters of where the trading is going and also how the market is responding to macro fears, not only here in the US, but globally. So you have to consider all of this. But remember, we saw a 10% drop during the China ban. That was in our last bull run. Maximum drop to 6% occurred during the Luna crash. We saw that. A lot of people are in a position right now where is this maybe the end of this bull run? That's the question. What do you guys think? Did we get a fake bull run this time around, or are we just in a position where the market is doing what markets do, adjusting out? There's so many influences right now: political influence, regulatory framework influence, a situation that we're dealing with on a macro front right now, trying to repair the economy, global pressures coming from the EU, coming from Hong Kong. All of this is playing into a market, I think, that's getting a little bit more questionable here in the US. Stock market now hasn't seen a single green day since September, including today's drop of the S&P, now down 3.4% on the month, and it's only first week. That's 1.7 trillion from the S&P 500 in terms of market cap erased just in the month of September. So this is a big one for sure. Maybe rate cuts aren't what the market wants after all. Definitely for sure. Like I said, drop some questions. I see some coming in, so we'll get to some of those for sure and get rolling in on that. A couple other things that people are, of course, basking in the sun right now is Peter Schiff as he's criticizing Bitcoin ETFs. Again, this is all based on outflow. If you guys have been watching the outflows of the Bitcoin ETFs, it's been significant. It hasn't been the largest, but it's definitely been flow that has been negative for quite some time. So he's arguing that the recent performance levels have been a little bit of the misguided enthusiasm. And his point is that Bitcoin ETFs have only gained about 17% since their debut in July, while gold ETFs have risen over 24%. I hate to say this, he is right on this, but is he right in the long term? That's the real question mark. So as we know, he is the ultimate hater of not only Bitcoin, but cryptocurrency in general, because he is a gold bug. And we've had him on the show before. Should we bring him back and just do a, kind of have a debate with him and one of the Bitcoin guys, one of the ETH guys? Let me know. This was a little bit of an interesting FUD scenario that flew out there. And this, let me kind of scan up on the tweet stream. It all was based on this, and that was that the ETH ETP, which had been approved, they're closing the ETF that invested in ETH futures. So that was really what they were trying to say, and everybody kind of ran with it. It was a little crazy, saying, "Oh, ETH is going to crater now. See, they're already bailing out of it." So all of that was just a simple statement that they said, "Hey, man, maybe you guys should learn how to read first to understand what's happening in the market and what we're doing with it as well." Others that you have to consider right now from a political standpoint, this is getting weird because Ripple co-founder is now signing a letter to endorse Harris for president. Now, there's a lot of people running wild. There's consideration of there a backroom deal? Is Ripple being considered for a Swift replacement? All sorts of craziness that's coming within this. Report cited that the letter signed by 88 corporate leaders in the United States also mentioned other prominent signees, but of course, Chris Larson was the one that, of course, has jumped into this. After Ripple has went head-to-head with the U.S. government and that administration, this was a surprise to me, a big surprise. So what do you guys think? Is there something brewing with XRP right now? We'll find out at the Swell event, which is coming up next month. And it looks like we will probably be there for the XRP community, so really understand what's going on. I don't know if we're going to be doing any interviews, but we may. We're still trying to figure that out with them as it is, but it is here in Miami. We will be there. So if you're an XRP enthusiast and you are coming to Miami, make sure and say hi when we're out there. Other news on the front right now, especially in the political arena, Donald Trump, the family, eyes about 540 million payout from a new DeFi venture report, and they're talking about tokens that most likely are just unlocking. So they're suggesting that they're going to sell about 30% of the WLFI token after hitting 1.8 billion valuation. This, of course, could happen down the road. Could it be some negative news for Trump? Yeah, it could. Does it tie into maybe the future of what this might look like of not only Trump, but I think we're going to see a lot more of this coming from some pretty prominent figures in the United States, especially as to understand how to utilize DeFi. And what they're talking about here is information from the test contracts is revealing that the team plans to sell 30% of the supply after achieving a fully diluted valuation. So you guys know this. That's a cool thing about DeFi. It's all out there in the open. You can figure these things out. Token unlocks are pretty common in terms of being tracked. So it's not as if this stuff is happening like it does in Wall Street, which is all of the time. People are rugging in there. Other points I want to hit on right here. This was Charles Hoskinson slamming the ADA burn proposal. And this is one that I think a lot of people in the ADA community it's very divided right now on the potential of what it could be. But he strongly opposed the proposal to burn 1.5 million or 1.5 million, 1.5 billion ADA tokens, arguing it would be theft from the stake pool operators. Essentially, that's the services that are basically earning on these stake pools. Cardano community is divided. Some see the burn as just a way to increase ADA's value, while others believe the funds should support Cardano's development. I don't know. What do you guys think? If you're an ADA, would you support this or not support it? I'm kind of curious on what you guys think. Because if you look at others who have done this, well, Jupiter did a supply reduction proposal that did pass. And look at that. I mean, that was overwhelmingly supporting a supply reduction with Jupe. So it is possible for these communities. Jupiter, of course, an ecosystem inside Solana. It is possible for these communities to kind of go in and correct these scenarios within these token metrics that really, and tokenomics that really should be addressed. And I think that's the situation that's facing Cardano right now. We will get some questions. I see them coming through. I'll try to get to as many as I can. I just want to kind of run a couple other things down here. One, of course, is Magic Eden. This is probably the worst news of the day, is Magic Eden splitting the site now for US and global users. Is this the end of the end, guys, here in the US if we do not get regulatory framework on digital assets? Because now you have companies basically isolating us American users for what will be most likely very limited use case inside the Magic Eden ecosystem for NFTs and many other elements around gaming assets. All of that could be affected. So it is a big deal for this to occur. I'm a little bit concerned about what this is going to look like, but they are splitting it, and they're still worried about regulatory scrutiny. This is, of course, going to be creating a distinct platform just for the United States users. So all of a sudden, the U.S. has become the least innovative country out there with craziness that we've seen coming out of regulation by enforcement here in the U.S. Speaking of Magic Eden, you can kind of see some of the ones that we've been tracking. Courtyard, which we've talked about here on the show before. If you haven't listened or watched much of that, go back to some of our videos. We kind of dive into that a little bit. Dolls Trading Cards getting ready to jump out here. This is kind of crazy. When you look at Dolls Trading, I'm not saying that this is kind of the OF for NFTs, but the fact that we're going to see some movement on this and the fact that Dolls is going to be tied into MetaQuest. I mean, what are we dealing with here? Are we finally getting into a virtual reality alternate here for OF? I don't know. This is going to be interesting to watch. But September 9th, we'll know, because all these kind of projects are going to be launching as Meta starts to release some of its new devices for the fall season. And we're probably going to see a huge amount of not only NFTs, games, as well as companies, I think, that really will start to expand within the Meta ecosystem. Be on the lookout for that as well. I think we could see a couple of partnerships that may surprise us around Meta's update for the MetaQuest coming up. As I said, don't forget, check out this AVAX video. It's a full breakdown on some of the things that we covered with Avalanche. And it's an in-depth deep dive on some very critical things that they have in their roadmap in terms of not only markets that they're really going into, but I think the future roadmap for Avalanche, which I've talked about many times, is this whole component around brand loyalty. Check that video out because it's definitely getting into a lot of detail across that. I want to go over to a couple of things. We will take a look at the charts today, but let's just go over and take a look at the poll real quick, and then we'll get to some questions real quick. All right, will Bitcoin fall below the 50K mark this weekend? Everybody is in the bearish camp right now. Yes, 55%. I am with you guys. I believe we might see a 49K Bitcoin coming in. Now, the question is how well can it hold? And if you look at the chart right now on Bitcoin as it is, I mean, this has been a trend that is not necessarily holding up. Sentiment is not holding up. Money flow is still kind of flat right here. This is our MSI indicator. But you could look at a variety of indicators. There's a whole slew of these that we've used before, some of which are really great. And one that I use is the Lux algo. There's a couple in there, the oscillator, the signals and overlay. This is another one that I like that kind of gives us an insight right here, definitely aligning with our MSI indicator, which is showing some downtrend right now for Bitcoin. I think 49 is definitely in the cards. Question mark is that's still a pretty big haul from a 54K. That's still another 5% on the market. So that would be almost 9% over possibly 72 hours to look at. So it's going to be interesting. Javier Blanco says, this always happens in September. We have seen this in September before. Mohammed says, Bitcoin is heading to 25K. I don't see that one happening. That would be egregious. Marv says, I don't want to believe that this cycle is high is already in, but it's a reality we have to consider. This is the question mark I think a lot of people are looking at right now is, are there so many contributing factors here in this cycle? Much like the last cycle, we just didn't have all of the things that were really flowing into what we're dealing with now, which is the macro pressure, the inflation explosion, the problem with rates, obviously our scenario that's playing out within the AI space, and the whole issue with the legal scenarios that have been ramped up over this past 4 years much more aggressively. So I would agree with you. It's a big question mark. Marv also says, so far the election year pump narrative has been a huge flop. If the Dems win, we have no reason to believe things will be different. I am in agreement with you, Marv, on that. I do not think we will see a different administration position if the Democrats win. De Gaulle says, when people fear the crypto market, you need to be aggressive and buy more when everything else is on sale. That is the ultimate baller move, guys. If you are in a position to go out there and do that, power to you. I think those are the kind of scenarios that make millionaires. It's just like any market out there. If you're buying when the market is in distress, and Warren Buffett is notorious for this, waiting for that. And remember, he's been exiting bank stocks and a lot of major positions, holding the most amount of cash I think that maybe Berkshire Hathaway has ever held. What does he know about the S&P? Are we about to see a true crash? I mean, with September continuing to fall and the situation lining up for a regulatory scenario and a macro position, jobs are still holding solid. So I think that's the question. Sucker Punch says, interview Corey, the CEO of Honeyland, for an update. We probably should get Corey back on, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'd be good for a panel because I think we would need more. We should probably do a gaming panel. Do you guys want a gaming panel? We bring on a whole bunch of the emerging games, maybe some of the others, get a full rundown on where Web3 is going, what kind of advancements we'll see in 2025. Let's do one of those. Let me know in the comments down below if you think that's a good idea. Once again, buying opportunity. Wonder if SEC appeals Ripple. I think that was the situation that they would probably not, because they were trying to get to that whole situation. But yet, you're right. Larson is for Kamala. I don't know. Maybe they are playing both sides. Listen, in any real election, all of the major corporations do play both sides, of course. So you have one founder that goes left, one founder that goes right. You try to position it that way, or you're donating to both campaigns because you're leveraging your bet. Bitcoin will keep declining. Old tech. Oh, ouch. Joe Ponzi says, are we still going to see 10x this bull? I think there's going to be some projects out there that, yes, are going to 10x. We are yet to see those. I don't know which ones they're going to be for sure, but we have some ideas on a lot of those. I still like what Avalanche is doing. Look how far Avalanche has fallen. Just to give you guys a look quickly. Off that high, we'll go right there to the extreme. We're talking about 67% right now in Avalanche coming down. So you look at where it's holding. This may start to clip under $20. If it does, and it's starting to get interesting here on Avalanche, we may see a little bit of a bounce right here on Avalanche coming up. This is on the daily. But I still like Avalanche as one of the lead tokens. It still has the potential. The other ones that I think are still questioning, I'm still curious at how Matic is going to do. This was the position of kind of a point of no return we had marked, but it continues to perform. It's at 36 right now. Does it get a reversal here with the new Paul token? I don't know. This is one we're watching, though. I do own some Matic. We'll see. The other one I like is Optimism for a possibility for many reasons within the base ecosystem. I like that. Near, if you're looking at alternatives to Render. Render, of course, has had a big run. The other one that has moved that I think a lot of people have slept on was Helium. Look at this nice move right here. It's one of the only tokens that has been outperforming the market. And if you go back here just to July into where we're sitting right now, 168% move on Helium. So definitely a wild one. Sometimes our studio lights do that, I've noticed. Paul, have you seen? Yeah, we just mentioned it. So that was good timing. We were both going to the same place. Ninth dimension, if you're worried, then you're clearly new to crypto. I totally agree with that. This is the other thing too, guys. I believe the bull run is still on. I do think that there are market scenarios that are playing right now from a macro standpoint. We've got to get through the security of this, either the soft landing or the hard landing, to be definitive. And once that starts to correct, I do think we're going to see some market opportunities. Now, will we see a crazy Bitcoin? Who knows what 2025 will run? A lot of people still anticipating we're well over six-figure Bitcoin. Many people are looking into 2025 for that. Buffett knows unrealized gains tax. Okay, let's talk about that, Elon Tron. I know I talk about this. There is no way that the Democrats push off a unrealized capital gains. The amount of billionaires that fund the Democrats dwarf the Republicans. I mean, they far exceed the amount of billionaires. There is no way that the Dems push that. Sure, it's great talking points to try to get people to vote for the campaign, but I don't think there's any way at all that Congress would push that through, number one, or the administration would sign it at all. That's just, being hopefully hopeful here. We'll see. Giuseppe says, Paul, it's better to keep 20% of the portfolio in stable coins right now. I think you should always have dry powder, especially in these kind of markets if you've been positioning. Some of you may have been selling in some of these tokens which have had fairly significant run-ups. If you did take some off the table and you're setting back, that's what I do. I'm looking for opportunities to catch these lows, which I do believe are starting to define. I mean, some of these altcoins are down 80%. So is it a long-term risk? Yeah, sure, of course it is. But is it an opportunity? Just like any business, you're going in for a long-term, I think you're okay. But there's also, opportunities, I think, to trade, whether you're doing shorts or longs. The market always has opportunities in it. You've just got to look for them. You've got to really pay attention. And I know it's extra work. That's why you guys got to use channels like ours and others to help you with the research. So make sure and subscribe. Hit it right now. Hit the subscribe button right now. AVAX, no brainer. For noobs, can be staked on Coinbase for 4.5. That is a good point, Fox Mulder in there. Crypto is another risk asset. Sell. Bulls are coming in October. That's an interesting date because there are a lot of people that do like the month of October leading into the election. Going, meme coins are done by 2025. Well, I think memes will play out through, we may see the last cycle here through the Tron network, which is one we've been talking about for a little bit. Does it return to Solana? Does it return to Base? Not anytime soon. I'm not sure that there could be another, blockchain that could spin up a style like that, but I just don't see that it's going to happen in the level that we saw Solana during that run up for Solana going to 200 bucks. So they're running stops before the rate cut boom. I would agree that's a good one. And also, I think there's a lot of people that are hoping that the S&P, if you look at the S&P right now, let me pull it up real quick. Look at the SPX right now. If you look at this position, and this adjustment down that we're dealing with, this is on the daily. I'm going to zoom up on this. If we get this kind of movement down, because this was the AI fall off right here, back down to this position right here around 5,000. If we break that, maybe trail into under 5,000, the impact on Bitcoin, I would say, yes, under 50, Ethereum probably around 2,100, maybe 2,000. And we could see Solana even come into the $100 range again. So I'm watching these very closely because those could open up some opportunities. Solana setting at that 120 range. Now you have some scenarios playing out for Solana and Avalanche and Ripple, all of which have their conferences later this year. So it's October, November. We're seeing a lot of that. And don't forget, we've got Token 2049 going on literally as we speak, getting ready to happen. So there could be some pretty big movements out there for sure. We'll see how all this plays out, because the key here, guys, if you're in crypto and you're here right now, kudos. You are a true OG audience. And I think that's the key for being able to make these crazy wins, is those who are able to hodl and live through, whether you're doing it in stocks or real estate, it doesn't matter. I mean, investing is always that way. So very easy. Join the Diamond Circle. If you guys are not in right now, make sure and get in on that. I do additional updates over there that are not done here on the channel. I only make that available over to our Diamond Circle, so I leave a link down below. You can get to that. Of course, follow me out there on X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.